Matthew and Ava are musicians who create, release, and perform under the name Pacifico. Pacifico lends its unique sound to the various contributors throughout its 20-year existence in the music world. Influenced by local and global sounds and sights, the duo seeks out musicians and artists to work together on lyrics, beats, remixes, artwork, and more as part of their tribe. To celebrate their 20th anniversary, Pacifico will be releasing the single When We Were Wild, as well as launching a crowdsourcing campaign for an EP and album. You may listen to Pacifico's music at pacificorock.com.
All right, well, thank you, Matt and Ava, for joining me today, for making it here and there. I'm really excited to talk to you guys about the band Pacifico and some of the projects that you have going on. So just give me a brief history of the band and how it got started.
It's always funny when we do interviews together to know who's going to answer what.
No, it's good.
It was started in about 20 years ago, 1999. I was in a band playing bass with our original drummer and was writing songs, and they didn't really like what I was writing, and he liked what I was writing, and so he wanted to start this group and kind of encouraged me to pursue my own music. And we got a bass player, and we started the band, and it grew from being a 3-piece to a 4-piece to a 5-piece. And then those guys, we did this whole thing where we tried to, I'm giving you the cliff notes, try to go to California, and then we had a manager, and we're trying to make it big, and then we got screwed really, really hard. And so we came back and did it for about another year, but then those guys just were too worn out, and so they quit, and they gave me the name and the songs. So I was the songwriter and the singer and all that kind of stuff. And so then from there, it's kind of been a collective where I just decided that it was just easier and for me more enjoyable to collaborate with people, and I get to work with people that, you know, they wouldn't be able to be in my band and commit, but they could play on an album or they could play a show or whatever. And so since then, that's how it's been. And every album recording we've had or live show has had a different conglomerate. And Ava here joined in 2017. She was in graduate school, and we were already married. And I had just finished an album and was looking at going on. I didn't know what to do with it. And she had graduated. We didn't get a honeymoon, so we were going to go try to talk. I can't talk. Try to talk about what we were going to do for our honeymoon. And she wanted to see the U.S. And so I was like, well, we can't afford that, but we could maybe afford that if we played shows. And since I had this album coming out, it worked out great. And the songs didn't really work for me to play acoustic, and she plays piano wonderfully. So I asked her if she wanted to play with me. And so she plays synths and sometimes sings background vocals. And I play guitar and sing live, and then we play the tracks from the album.
Wow. So it's strictly is like you're like the main guy, you know, you're sort of like the backup, and you source out, you know, like you said, like you seek. That's what I thought was actually really interesting about, you know, your brand or your project is like you're looking for contributions from, especially like online now and on, you know, word of mouth. And that's what I thought was really, really cool. So how'd you guys meet?
We met on St. Patrick's Day.
Okay.
Was it 2010? 2011? I think it was 2011.
Yeah, 2011.
St. Patty's Day, really randomly in a bar. He actually had a girlfriend at the time. I had a boyfriend at the time. There was this guy that just wouldn't leave me alone, and it was kind of uncomfortable in my space, and I was very, very shy back then, and I didn't really know how to say no. And so his girlfriend at the time came and rescued me and pretended to know me, you know. And she was just like, oh, hey, here you are. We were looking for you. And we were just really good friends after that. It just kind of grew. And then when we were going through breakups, kind of at similar times, we realized, oh, it's not just friends.
Okay. That's really sweet. So for both of you, question for both of you, what sparked your interest in music? In playing music, writing song lyrics?
Okay. So for me, I grew up listening to a lot of classical music. I was kind of the uncool, nerdy kid. I didn't even know about popular music when I was young. So I had these like cassette tapes that were called Classic for Kids. And
Oh.
so they were like, I learned about the life of Bach and whatever. And I started playing the piano when I was very young. So it just always meant a lot to me to be able to play and, express a lot of feelings. And it was kind of my escape when I was young too. And so then I've always kind of had this a dream of maybe marrying a guy in a band. And then it happened that way.
Dreams do come true.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
She did play drums in a band in high school.
I did, yeah. It was in Germany in high school. You go up to the 13th grade.
Okay.
And in the last 3 years, you have different kinds of topics, and some topics you have a little bit more intense. I guess it's kind of like an AP or something here. And one of my classes was music, and I had an amazing music teacher, and I learned a lot of amazing things there. And we did a band, and that was just kind of, when I learned that I can be actually making it myself rather than just listening and admiring it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
How about you?
Yeah, for me, I grew up in a fairly large family. I have 3 siblings and 2 parents, and they my father was a minister of music and education in the Southern Baptist Church, and so I grew up having to at least sit in choir a bunch. And then when I got old enough, I don't even know if we had children. I guess sure we had a children's choir, but as soon as I can remember, I was singing. I remember a solo he made me singing for a Christmas thing, and I was scared out of my ever-living mind going out there and singing for people for the first time. And then they wanted me to play piano, and I did not want to do that, but they convinced me because they're like, Elton John plays piano, and Michael W. Smith plays piano, which is a Christian artist that I like. And so I was like, all right, I could do this. And so I took piano lessons, and around our house, we listened to a lot of classical music and opera. My dad sang opera before he became a minister. And of course, hymns and Christian music. And so like, I enjoyed piano because I grew up listening to that stuff and wanted to learn that. And I think the first things I wrote were instrumental pieces. It was either that or I would sing to myself and make up songs. Whatever. So that was my first like writing experience. I remember when I was 15 or something like that, maybe 14, I went to piano camp, and I out of all the kids that were at the camp, I actually had a class by myself with a teacher that they made just for me that was about writing and arrangement for orchestra. So I was writing these classical pieces, and they made this whole class just for me that summer, which was amazing. And I learned so much. And then I think around the same time, I was 15 years old and started learning guitar. I had a girlfriend at the time. Her father played guitar, and I thought that was really cool. And we went to a youth camp thing, and they taught guitar, and so I was like, all right, I'm gonna learn. So I learned like 3 things there, and then I stole my dad's acoustic that he'd had in his closet, and I got it restrung, and I just started teaching myself guitar, and kind of just went from there. First band I had was with my brother. He sang, and I played guitar, and I wrote the songs, and then we ended up going our separate ways because he just wasn't into it, and we weren't doing anything. But yeah.
Wow. So what would you say your influences have been musically and, like even like personally that got you into this field?
That like gives the sound that we have kind of thing?
Yeah. What the sound you have, or like what, even for like writing song lyrics, like what inspires you?
It's that, I mean, artists I can name for me writing and stuff would be, I like a lot of older music. I love Motown, Beatles, Beach Boys, Buddy Holly, stuff like that. 60s music there. I love Britpop stuff in the 90s as well as the British Invasion, and like Blur and Oasis and Supergrass and stuff like that. But the most influential I would say would probably be like Beatles, Beach Boys, Radiohead, Starflower 59, David Bazan. Lyrically, it's different because like for me, I writing, I'm usually playing guitar or piano, and I'll play some chords or something, and then I'll hear something, and so then the rest of the time of writing is me trying to catch that song, like going, what was that next chord? What was that next note? Kind of thing. What's that next part? Because I hear it, but it's like it's faint, far away, and I'm trying to like bring it closer, and then so I find it. And lyrically, that's the last thing I do usually. I'm playing the song for, in some cases, months, and then I'm just saying the same things over and over. And so when I make a demo, like the first demo of the song, when I've got it created, I just sing stream of consciousness, and then when it's over, I go back and listen to it and try to see if there's any words that were usable. And usually there's something. A lot of times it ends up being the tag, like whatever I'm saying ends up being like the hook of the song. Sometimes it's terrible and I have to scratch everything. The last album, Everest, I really honestly was so stumped with lyrics, I couldn't figure out anything. I always wanted, since I was a big Beach Boys fan, I always wanted to work with someone that was really good with words. So I contacted this poet that I knew through some friends, that I saw him perform some poetry live once, and I really liked what he did, and asked him if he wanted to work. And we got together and tried out a song, and we loved it. And so we did the whole album together. And so that was a different experience.
Wow.
We just we got together each week and did 1 to 2 songs. But I don't know that I really have like there definitely are lyricists that I think are amazing and some that I think are awful. But I don't know if there's anybody that I would say that I try to be like. I just try to write things. I like things vague, and I like things relatable, and I like things kind of artistic. I want people to take whatever they want out of the song, and I don't want it to be so literal, where you're like, he said this, and he's going there, and they're doing that. Like I like the idea of people being able to listen to it and kind of take whatever they want out of it.
Wow. So that's interesting. So like you said, you have like a stream of conscious, like you have this ideas or that go with the music. So you create the music first and then the lyrics second, not the other way around. So that's really interesting. What about you, Ava?
When it comes to influencers, I'm having a very hard time saying that I'm in the field, because I feel very much like I'm on stage a lot of times just the decoration, pressing a few buttons.
Oh no, you're not just a decoration.
I do have a giant case of imposter syndrome, so there's that. Honestly, when I was young, I was just really influenced by anybody that could convey an actual feeling in a song, and that's why I really love classical music so much, because you listen to that and your mood is incredibly changed and you're actually feeling with the song. So anybody that was just, full of conviction, even in the more popular ways, I was very influenced by. There's this German band called Wir sind Helden. We just recently rediscovered them, and they were really a giant part of my youth. When I was a drummer, they had a female front singer, and that was really inspiring to me. And they were like kind of indie pop already, indie rock, and so they were always kind of like my ideal. So that now I get to stand on the stage is pretty awesome.
When we first met, music was very important, and it kind of was one of the things that connected us, because we each gave each other, the CD with like songs, and I don't know, through our talks we discovered that we kind of both love beautiful sad songs. So I made her a CD of beautiful sad songs, and then she made me like a CD of the same thing. And hers were mostly classical or German, and there was a couple pop stuff, but mine was all like indie rock and stuff, and it was really kind of cool. They're very similar, but yet very different at the same time.
Yeah, and it was really nice because it almost was kind of like we got to know really who we were through the songs, like kind of the soul of each other was kind of shining through what we, what the mixtape was like. That's true.
And I feel like I was going to say, like, the art of giving somebody a mixtape is like so lost now. So
I agree. Yes, it's so true. Now we just let the Spotify algorithm curate for us what we want to feel like.
People still make Spotify playlists.
That's true.
You can do that.
Oh, that's the new one.
I think that's the new.
Somebody. All right.
That's true.
I'll have to do that for the next person I start seeing. So that kind of to play off of that. So what you say you try to communicate with your music? So like you said, you're trying to communicate like a mood. Or like you say, you're trying to keep it very vague. Would you say that that's what you look for in when you collaborate with others? Like you try to look for a specific mood or a specific sound?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, a lot of times, so when like I said, it comes to me and I'm kind of trying to find it. there definitely is a mood, and sometimes it's based directly off of what I'm going through, and sometimes I don't know why I feel it. Like the song, I guess a good example would be we just had a single and a video come out, "The Loneliest Man in the World." That song was kind of, I think, inspired because Ava was having a tough time in grad school. Because at the time, I was not having a hard time, but I wrote this song that was kind of sad and somber and such. And I was trying to figure out what it was about, what it was from, and so we talked about it. And she actually helped with the lyrics on that, as well as Vincent, the guy that helped with the lyrics. And so like that kind of thing, I kind of already know musically what the tone is going to be. And then lyrically wanted to make sure that the lyrics matched that and they worked well. And they kind of, like I said, I had a couple words in there, but most of it wasn't written. So we kind of each took a stab and then took all three of our stabs and worked out from the work. Musically, I'll make something, and I'm working on a new single right now. And what I did with this is I'm doing. It's pretty ridiculous. I'm doing 4 different versions of the same song. I've had bands and lived in Georgia, North Carolina, and Louisiana. And in each of those cities, I've had a different band that play with me live. Okay. And some of them would be on different recordings and stuff. And so what I did for our 20th anniversary or whatever is I'm recording a version from each city. But the only thing I kept constant was I wrote the song, whatever, the structure and the chords and everything. It's got to stay in the same key, and it had to have the same tempo, but everything else could change. So when I showed up, I had given them the song, they could listen to it, like that stuff. I showed up and I was like, so what do you guys think? How do you want to start this? Yeah. So each time we would with new people and be like, I think we should start it like this. And so I was like, all right, cool. So after this, where do we go? And then like everybody would throw in, and there's like 5 people in a room, or sometimes 6, that all kind of throw in ideas and such. You kind of give them free reign to do whatever they feel like is, they feel and think. And I think that's so beautiful, because when you do art, a lot of times you're too close to the project and you think that you know everything. And to have another ear that like never wasn't there from the inception of it, like, or conception of it, whatever, like they coming in later, listening to it and telling you what they think instinctively is so interesting, because a lot of times their idea is better than anything I could ever come up with. A lot of times they're wrong, but sometimes they're right.
But that's I think that's what I really love about when we talk about it being a collective. You asked what kind of mood he wants to convey or what he's trying to convey. First of all, even when he writes, it's kind of like you said, he's like finding what it's about. So he like never sits down and is like, I want to write about this, because it just kind of transpires and happens. And it's just like running around in the atmosphere, and he's trying to grab it and write it down. But I've always really loved watching that process of having other people be involved, because he gives them free range, and he kind of says goodbye to his baby and lets it be what it is, because he believes that it has a life of its own, and he wants it to be a community project because he doesn't think that it belongs to him anyway, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And so that's especially why I like this new EP with the 4 different versions of the same song, because it kind of is the perfect example of how this band was run for most of its time.
Yeah.
So this is the song "When We Were Wild."
That's right.
We're talking about? That's a song. Okay, perfect. And so when you came up with that song, you didn't do any lyrics. You just kind of had some like pieces, and you're letting other people.
I mean, I can send you the demo I made of it. It's literally me doing stream of consciousness, and I don't think, I'd have to go back and check, but I don't think any of those lyrics actually ended up
When We Were Wild.
Well, that did, that those lyrics did, but that was the only thing, and I was like, what does that mean? And to me, like, that's why I decided to pick that song, because it had like a good enough malleable structure and stuff that it could be almost anything. And then had this, when I thought about it a lot, When We Were Wild, to me felt like it was supposed to be about, thinking back on days, and it was perfect for, getting back together with old friends, and let's complete the song together. And the lyrics for it, we did finish those, and those were finished with the first collaborator on lyrics I ever had in Pacifico. His name's Matt Wells. We called him Matt 2, and I was Matt 1. And him and I used to write lyrics and music together for a while, and we hadn't worked together in 15 years or whatever. But he came over, and over a couple hours and some drinks and such, we hashed it out, and it worked.
Wow. So how do you normally connect with new individuals and seeking collaborators, or just people just trying to reach out to people who might be interested in your music?
It's different every time. And it really kind of depends on what the thing is. I think that typically the way that it works is I kind of have I think it starts from the recording. I guess there's two facets. So the recording and the live. The recording starts from once I have a group of songs and I feel like they are all bound together by something. I try to, in the same way, try to figure out how are these bound? What are they supposed to sound like and stuff? And they usually kind of a chord that runs through them. And I the last album, Everest, I really felt like they were going to be more dancey and more synthy, and kind of to try to do something different than I had done before. Because I always grew up and loved dance music and stuff like that, but had not gotten into that realm. And granted, I don't think that I did do a dance album, but I think that I touched on it. And
the
cat's coming. I'm so sorry. Oh no. Sorry about that.
No,
it's okay. What's your cat's name?
This is Harriet.
Harriet. Does Harriet have something to say?
She's probably gonna bite me in a second because I'm holding her like this.
Oh, right.
Risking my life for the cat.
But so I knew what kind of sound I wanted, and first thing was okay, so who do I know that would be really good to help make beats and do synths and stuff? And there was this guy that I used to listen to back in the day in a band called Joy Electric, and then he managed our band for a short bit, and actually wanted to work with us back in the day, but we were doing more punk kind of stuff, and I could not see how it would have worked. And so I just contacted him. I sent him demos, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll do it. I'm in. That sounds awesome." So he was the first guy, and then I tried to round it out. Who else do I think, who have I not worked with in a while, or who I've always wanted to work with, or that kind of thing. And so that album, I had the drummer that had been playing with me live for a while. His name's Andrew, and he'd never been on a recording. So I was like, I love this kid. He's got a great voice. He plays drums amazing. He needs to be on one of my albums. So he was the drummer. Bass, I got my buddy Ben, who was an original member of Pacifico when we first started, and we hadn't worked together since then. And he always loved Ronnie Martin and always wanted to work with him. So I was like, I'm going to get him in on this. And so the three of us were part of it. And then I kind of I got sorry, sometimes I get stuck. My buddy CJ, he's played lead on the last album. It's kind of like my right hand man for a lot of stuff, and I had him play leads on it. And then we had a couple other people come in and out to help out with stuff. Like I said, I picked Vincent to do the lyrics with because I got stuck with that and wanted to work with a poet. And then Ava helped out on lyrics on one of the songs. And then we had a guy that was in Orlando that was a friend of Jason's, CJ, that played bass on the song because we got stuck and needed some help with that. And then had another guy that was a friend of CJ's in Orlando when we were recording down there that I've been friends with for a while too. He played lead on it. And so it's kind of like, who do you know and how do you know people? Live, it's kind of pretty much similar. I mean, I told you I worked with my buddy Bruno that's from Brazil. That was a happenstance thing. I guess not really. I put up a Craigslist ad and was looking for a guitar player, and he answered it. And we met up at this is when I lived in North Carolina. We met up at my favorite Irish pub, and we were having drinks and talking and about music and stuff. We just really connected. And it turned out he had just moved to, he'd been in America a little bit, but he had just moved to Winston-Salem. And he was looking for a job. And because I had gone there and known some people, talked to somebody, and throughout this whole thing, he ended up he didn't join our band because we had to try him out, but I knew he was going to be good because he sent me some demos and stuff. And I was like, pretty much he got a band and I got a job within 5 minutes of us meeting and stuff. So, I mean, I don't know. And now he runs a coffee farm in Brazil. And I went down 2 years ago and played a couple shows with him down there. But yeah.
So how do you use social media to connect with, try to get new listeners and, like I said, trying to find new people to just hear your sound? because that's how I found you. I found you through Instagram.
Yeah, that's the hardest part. Like, I think I love the fact that anyone can make a song and create an album and make videos and you know, have Instagrams, have Facebooks, whatever. I love that we have that technology, but I also hate it because now it literally is a screaming match. It's like everyone's trying to yell and who's the loudest, you know, or it's hard. I mean, Ava might be able to help out more with the answer because she's gotten really good at like all that kind of stuff. She does all the hashtags and all that kind of stuff. I make most of the content. Of course, a lot of times I'm like, what should I do? And she's like, do this. And I'm like, that's genius, you know? But yeah, it's tough. I've gotten much, much better than I used to be because it's kind of like a necessary evil. I certainly love connecting with people. Like, it's awesome to like, you know, like meet people in that medium and know that, like, you know, that you have a common interest and that, you know, that you connect. But it's tough.
I also agree with the fact that it's hard because there are so many accounts and the algorithms usually work against you, and there's a whole like math side to it all. But what I really love about the social media part is that it's personal, and if you do it right, if you put some vulnerability into it, you know, I think that's the thing that can set you apart. And I think that Matthew has been often very honest and very vulnerable. Even if he's been struggling with something, he usually talks about it. And that's what I want to see from people. That's the people I follow on Instagram, because I want to see real human emotions and real humans, you know. I don't want to have curated, sponsored content all the time. So I think that's the most important thing about social media. And, you know, there's all these different rules. Nowadays, they tell you that you should post 6 times a day. Who has things to say 6 times a day that people need to know? You know, they don't. But so like, you just
I don't know. I have a real job, so this is like the side thing I can like squeeze in. It's crazy, but you know, it's interesting because a lot of like I do see like some bands do, I think, have like some sort of manager that, you know, I guess maybe monitors the social media profiles and you know, I guess that's paid, or I guess, you know, some sort of way that they can stay on top of it. But otherwise, it's like, and you can tell the content's different too. It's a lot more stylized. It's obviously been edited heavily. And I'm not just saying, like, I saw you had posted. Well, I saw today you posted the acoustic version of your Loneliest Man in the World. I mean, obviously that's something you put together, but it wasn't like this, you know, high definition, you know, you know, you had like some crazy photographer and that goes around to take your tour pictures, and like I said, clearly like knows all the Instagram features to like swipe up to buy this, or, you know, or just linking to certain accounts and they make money. It's crazy. So I don't know how I see so many bands, you know, on Instagram, and like you said, for me, what stuck out with you, like you said, the content was very realistic. I mean, the sound was very, you know, obviously the sound was awesome, but it's just trying to, and like I said, you're trying to connect. I see you guys do try to connect, like, I don't know if it's Ava or you, Matt, that put up like, hey, what do you think about, and you had something about Game of Thrones, or what do you think about, you had something about Marvel or something. I'm not a fan of like Marvel, but you had something about like, just trying to catch people's like attention, but it's good because that's normal. And I would, you know, hope that you have like lives outside of, you know, just having one hobby or having one job. It's you know, it's trying to reach out and get people interested and keeping people interested without posting 6 times a day, because I don't know.
It's tough because like they say that not only are you supposed to post 6 times a day, but like it takes about 15 times for someone to sing something before they'll click on it, which is crazy. And then like, as somebody, like, I do have a real job, but at the same time I would love to actually sell records and actually have people listen to the music, and not, you know, and not for this to be for nothing, you know. But to do that, I've got to be in people's faces, and I've got to like kind of do the work to some degree, you know. And that part I think is the hardest. But I do try to be real. I do try to write about stuff that actually interests me, because I think that's, I think from anything you do, whatever you like, do it, you know. I mean,
and honestly, I think that's my favorite thing about music and this business anyway, and I feel like it's the same for you, Matt, that it's about eventually, at the end, it's about connecting with people, right? You want to bring people together you want to convey your emotions, and you want those emotions to be, responded to, and somebody react to what you're saying and putting out. And if you use social media that way and you're getting actual genuine reactions back, that at least can make it a little bit more fulfilling, because of course it's a marketing tool, blah, 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 but it should also bring you some joy.
Absolutely. So not to change subject completely, but you did talk a little bit about touring in Brazil, and I did want to touch on the whole touring aspect. Like what's your, for both of you, what's your favorite or least favorite part about touring?
You go first.
So I've only been on one tour, but it was a long one, and it was all across the States. My
you got the honeymoon.
I mean, but we've done stuff here.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Weekend warrior stuff.
Yeah. But like a long tour was the only one. And I'm gonna start with the bad and then move to the good.
Okay.
Least favorite was probably just, it's a lot of driving, and we didn't have a lot of nights off, so it's a lot of being on every day. You drive for 6 hours sometimes, and then you have to load in and set up, and then you don't know who's going to show up, and then you have to be really, really friendly, of course, and you're excited to be there, but you've been doing this for the last 15 days straight, and you just kind of want to, let your, open your pants and let your gun hang out for a second, but you have to be on and friendly, and then you have to be on stage and all of that. It can get exhausting. But the wonderful thing then is that, first of all, you're seeing all these different places, and you're meeting all of these people, and there's that connection again. You come to a place, and maybe you are tired, and maybe you would like to just, lay in bed and watch Netflix. But then you always meet somebody that either connects with you on a personal level, or maybe even on an artistic level, or you hear the other band that you're playing with, and they're amazing. And so that kind of like human response that you're getting when you're out there, it's just priceless. You can't really get that any other way.
Yeah.
What
she said. No, just kidding. Yeah, I mean, it's the bad parts are really honestly just the lack of time, the lack of money, the being in the car and on the road for so long. A lot of times, I mean, it's different now that it's not my main job, whatever. When I used to tour full time, it was awful because we were given basically $5 a day to eat on. So we're doing dollar menus only we didn't do breakfast, but we only did dollar menus only for lunch and dinner. We were always trying to stay with people. So if we didn't know somebody in a town, which we did a little bit of that on the last tour, most of it, we just got a hotel or whatever, or stay with friends. But like, but you're on stage and you're going, hey, do you have room for 5 people on your floor? Like that kind of thing. And that can either be great or it can be awful. A lot of times too, like, because it's exciting. It happened with us on a tour of friends, but even before when I was touring full time, like the people are excited to see you and they want to party. They're like, oh, you're in town, let's say it. But like after like she said, once you get about week 2 of touring, you're like, I don't want to stay up to 3 again and drink. Like, I just want to go to bed, and that's why a lot of musicians end up being alcoholics, because not only do they, a lot of places won't give you Cokes free, but they'll give you free beer, and then on top of that, then afterwards you're hanging out with people and all they want to do is party all night. And so you're up to 3 every night, or later, just getting drunk and dumb, and it gets old real quick, So it's that kind of stuff where you're like, I just want to bed and quiet, and I want to have some me time. That kind of stuff is what you miss. But like she said, like there's some things that I've seen and experienced that I would have never have been able to do, and people that I've met that I would never have been able to meet if it wasn't for music. And I wouldn't take any of that back.
Right.
Like those things are awesome. I've played amazing stages. I've met amazing people. I've seen beautiful things. I mean, like when we were on our tour, we were driving through Washington State and like through the mountains and stuff, and it was just heavenly, like just beautiful. And we were just like, can you believe this? This like exists,
Yeah, we would always drive, and I would always have this move because it's like, look at all of this world that we're seeing.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was also the wonderful thing about last tour was that it was him and I, I mean,
it was just us.
Yeah. So I mean, it was 6 hours in the car is definitely hard, but when you have your best friend next to you, it's nice because you have time to talk.
And we got a little bit testy here and there, but mostly we didn't really fight or anything.
That's normal. You're allowed to. Now, do you have a tour coming up?
No, I've got a bunch of recording coming up. I've got to finish the When We Were Wild single. I've got one version done. I got the 2 other versions being mixed, and then the 4th version is a mega mix where I'm taking parts of all 3 versions and putting it all together in one song. So it will be all these. I counted it once, but it's like 19 people all in one song. So I got to do that, and then I'm have an EP that I started. Well, it was actually started as an album in 2005, but 4 songs had drums recorded, and then nothing ever happened to it. So me and a buddy in North Carolina are going to finish that and finish those 4 songs and make a little EP. And then I'm recording a full length, and I've started pre-production on that. And I'm doing that with a producer named Aaron Sprinkle out of Nashville. And so I got all that going on. Shows-wise, though, there is, I will be honest, I have a little bit of a love-hate relationship with being a musician and music in general. And I think that I was given the talent of writing songs and singing, but everything else I kind of had to learn. And being a front man and being on stage is not something I do enjoy it when people are connecting and stuff, but there's a lot of bull crap you have to go through to get to that. And and I don't know, like I don't look a lie, I don't pack places or anything like that. So it's hard for me at this phase of my life to spend 4 hours driving someplace, show up, set up, play a show for hardly anybody, and try to convince them to buy something and pack up, spend money in a hotel, and then drive back home. At least I'm not. I mean, in a lot of cases, I'm breaking even and I'm not losing money, but it's not something I'm super stoked about. I do want to play some more shows, but I'm kind of right now I just want to focus on these recordings, and then I think I might do like a little bit more after that.
Okay. So besides you're doing the recording thing, tell me a little bit more about this crowdsourcing campaign that you got going on. Are you going to be starting?
So when the single drops this summer for When We Were Wild, that's going to kick it off, and I'm going to do the crowdsourcing campaign to fund the EP and the album. And basically, I've been working on perks and all that kind of stuff. I don't have all that defined, but basically the single will only be available through that at first. And you can, I know that you can get the single and you can pick a state. I'm going to have shirts for each state too. So you can have a shirt that's just a Georgia shirt that comes with a Georgia single, or a North Carolina shirt with a North Carolina single, or you can get, other things. Like I said, I haven't worked out all of the kinks on everything, but yeah, it's for that. It's to fund those 2 albums, and I might even throw some tickets in there for some shows and stuff and that kind of thing. But that'll happen this summer when the single drops.
I think the nice thing about a crowdfunding campaign is always that I've had to reframe it a little bit in my mind, because I think that a lot of times people would come at you and say, if you can't afford to make an album, why make an album?
Yeah, we've had some nasty people.
It's sometimes a little bit hard. But first of all, it's really, really expensive. But second of all, it's not like you're giving us money and you're not getting anything in return. It's basically just a pre-order, Yeah. And then all of these perks, and we always try to support anybody that we can that we like too. And it's basically just the way this industry works now. So, but what I was trying to say is, like, I really like the fact that when you give some money, it's not like you're just donating. It's actually like you're just buying and pre-ordering.
Yeah.
Ava, is there anything you're working on in the next few months?
Artistically, not really. I'm having this is not actually like, okay, it's not really a thing, but I really, really like dancing. I love dancing, but I haven't really found a really good space to do that in where I don't get grabbed or ogled at, or where a lot of drunk people are. So actually, Matthew got me this idea that maybe I'm gonna rent a room and have this kind of a safe space for any kind of fellow people that want to dance with me, and we just have an hour where we turn on the music and we're safe and we just have feel some joy and dance around a little bit.
Wow.
that's
I
kind
love
of
this
an
idea.
idea. Yeah. Other than that, I'm still pretty new at my job. I started almost a year ago, and so there's just a lot to focus on in that respect. So I'm just trying to like combine everything and coordinate it all.
Well, you guys sound like you have, things to look forward to over the summer. And, I would love to check in, see how the EP is going and the single and the crowdsourcing campaign. So we'll have to do a check-in at some point.
Sure.
Maybe
Like
maybe
that.
maybe in the year. Is there anything else you'd like to discuss or,